Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the June council meeting. I'd just like to start by acknowledging the owners, the traditional owners of the land on which we meet tonight, and probably the traditional owners of the land in Canberra tonight, and pay my respects to elders past and present, and to the elders of any other nations that could be here today. Thank you. Welcome to the public gallery. I can see a few there, so welcome to you. As required, can you all hear and see me?
Yes. Yes.
Thank you. Item 2, receipt of apologies. I do have an apology from Councillor Stewart. Item 3, confirmation of minutes of the previous meeting. Councillors, the recommendation that the council adopt the minutes of the council meeting held Wednesday, 10th of May 2023, and council adopt the minutes of the council meeting held Wednesday, 7th of June 2023. Could I have somebody that would move those, please?
Happy to move those, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. And a seconder?
Happy to second that.
Councillor Hogan. Any discussion? Take that as carried. Thank you. Item 4, requests for leave of absence. Do we have any? We don't. Thank you. Item 5, declarations of pecuniary and conflicts of interest. In accordance with section 130, section 2 of the Local Government Act 2020, councillors who have a conflict of interest in respect of a matter being considered at this meeting must A, disclose the conflict of interest in the manner required by the council's governance rules 2020, and B, exclude themselves from the decision-making process in relation to the matter, including any discussion or vote on the matter at any council meeting, delegated committee, and any action relating to this matter. Declarations must be immediately before the matter is considered. Councillors, do we have any conflicts of interest?
Not at this stage.
No.
Thank you. Questions from the public? We have none at this stage. Item 7, procedural items. 7.1, report of councillor assemblies. Councillors, we have a recommendation that council note the report of council assembly meeting held 3rd and 17th of May. Could I have a mover for that and a seconder, please?
So moved.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. And a seconder? Councillor Mill, thank you. Any discussion? There was no one against. I'll take that as carried. 7.2, letters of congratulations and recognition of achievement awards, of which I don't have any on my list.
Please, Mayor.
Yes, Mr. Councillor Warren.
Look, I'd like to add to this list Councillor Rob Gersh
Yes.
from Buloke Shire, who was in the King's Honours list, was awarded OAM for his services to local government and community. I think it would be remiss of us not to congratulate Councillor Gersh. He's a long-serving councillor and well known by many across the local government district in this region.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Yes, I do actually sit on a couple of boards with Rob. Thank you. Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Through you, to add to the list the two participants of Birchett Circuit I mentioned at the briefing the other night. So Rachel Ferrier and Keiko Nakamura, who have both reached their or achieved their 15 years of service to the Birchett Circuit team, and both attained their competent driving certificate. And they're both actually nearly reaching their 17-year mark, given that COVID and presentations haven't been allowed. And one other from the Australia Day list would be Leonie Burrows from Mildura, who was our first interim CEO at the time of Buloke Shire's monetary troubles. And Leonie did a lot of work for us in that time to get us an understanding of the situation. and to also give us some good leadership in those early days of that era, Mr. Mayor. So I'd like to add her to the list as well, please.
Thank you, councillor Milne. Councillors, any others that you may have? No, thank you very much. They'll be added.
Get the motion.
So, councillors, so we will now have a motion that, a recommendation that, hang on a second, lost me a bit of paper, that we add those, that council acknowledge and congratulates the persons and or groups mentioned in the report for their achievement. So could somebody care to move that, please? Councillor Milne and Councillor Warren second. And any further discussion? We'll take that as carried. 7.3 is correspondence initiated by council, the office of the CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. So this is just a procedure report on the building activity for the previous month. There's sorry, Mayor. Excuse me, I'm jumping ahead.
Yep.
I'm just again procedure report. Recommendation the council notes the record of correspondence initiated by council and the responses received.
Thank you. So council is the recommendation that council note and record the correspondence initiated and the responses received. Would somebody care to move that, please? Councillor Pollard and Councillor Hogan the second. All those in favour? Against? Carried. Thank you. 7.4 building permits monthly report. Community development. Mr. Fitzgibbon, I would assume that is you.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, councillors, this is your standard monthly report providing information on building permits approved for the month of May for your noting.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Council's got a recommendation that council note the information contained in the report on building permits approved by staff from 1 May 2023 to 31 May 2023. Will I have somebody care to move that, please? Councillor Simpson, and the seconder is Councillor Pollard. Any discussion? No one was said. I take that as carried. Thank you. 7.5 planning applications received, monthly update. Mr. Fitzgibbon, if you'd be so kind.
Thank you again, Mayor, and through you, councillors, this report provides information on planning applications under consideration by staff and the status of each of these applications.
Thank you. Council's recommendation that council note the information contained in the report on planning applications under consideration by staff and the status of each of these applications. Could I have a mover and a seconder for those, please?
Happy to move that.
Councillor Hogan and a seconder. Councillor Pollard, any discussion? I'll take that as carried. Sorry, Councillor Warren, was that?
Yes, just an observation. Maybe staff could take this on notice. I do notice we have objections for a 6-lot subdivision in Witchingford and an objection to a 5-lot subdivision in Sea Lake. It sort of worries me that in this time of tight, if you like, building situation, we're screaming out for building lots. We seem to have objections. Can you enlighten me, or is it something that we need to consider? Look, happy to want to come back. It's just, it seems to me that there's something not quite right here.
Thank you for the question, Councillor Warren, and Mayor, through you, I'll take that on notice. Obviously, each application is different to the other one, so rather than provide a broad answer, come back to you, Councillor Warren.
Thank you.
Answer. Maybe some commentary on the broader situation.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. The council, we've got the mover and a seconder. Any further discussion? And nobody would be against that report, so we'll take that as carried. Thank you.
Mayor, if I may, and sorry to interrupt the flow, but we have some confusion with a couple of questions from the public, which we were going to treat as public participation. But if, with your permission, we'd like to circle back and just have those questions that we have answered from Martin Shunderword and one other one. If we could deal with those now, if you're comfortable to do that.
We're not doing under there. So.
Yeah, so there are some questions we want to treat as questions, and there also will be some submissions as well to the planning matter when we get to that.
All right. So councillors, I've been given a bum steer by Mr O'Toole. So we will circle back to questions from the public, and Mr O'Toole, please.
Yeah, I wonder if I could defer to Ms Stedman to be able to answer that, Mayor. I've got that on very fine print on a piece of paper that I can, in fact, not read.
Neither can I. Ms Stedman, would you please take over from here?
I can. So the questions are in relation to a planning matter on the agenda this evening, and I will pass to Travis, Director of Community Development, to answer those and refer to those questions that were submitted. Travis.
Thank you, Mayor, through you. So these are both Martin and these questions. Is that my understanding? Thank you. Mayor, if you're happy for me to both read and answer the questions, I'm happy to do so. The first question comes from Martin Schoenberg, and I hope I've pronounced that somewhat incorrectly, Martin. I apologise. The question is, in email correspondence with council staff dated May 11, 2023, it was noted that the responsible authority could take into account the support expressed by individuals in their decision-making process. This suggests that the signatures collected by Tim and Sam could potentially impact the outcome. Given that I have discovered inconsistencies in Sam and Tim's responses to objections, which I have previously pointed out to council staff, I am now questioning the validity of the signatures Sam and Tim have collected. My first question is if these signatures are considered in the decision-making process. The answer to that is there is no specific provision in the Act for considering submissions in support of application. However, there is no reason why supporters should not tell the responsible authority about their support for a proposal and for the authority to consider this in making its decision. Letters of support are not treated as objections. A further question was, how does council ensure the authenticity of these signatures? And the answer to that question is council did not take any action to ensure the authenticity of the signatures for either the submissions that were objections or the letters of support. A further question is specifically what exactly did all those supporters sign, and how does council verify the residency status of the supporters? And the answer to that is the supporters signed letters that expressed support for the proposed extension of trading hours. Council took no action to verify the residency status of the authors of either the support letters or the authors of the objections. The authors of the letters of support made no claim in regards to their residency status for council to verify. A further question was, my second question would be that if these signatures are considered, then why was I not given a copy and a chance to see and respond like Sam was in her response to the objectors? And the answer to that is, it is standard practice for an objection to be redacted and forwarded to an applicant to provide the applicant with an opportunity to address an objector's concerns and perhaps offer mitigation or a solution to the objector's concerns, and that the objection may be resolved and withdrawn. If council believe a mediation meeting with the applicant and objections may be of value, a mediation meeting may be organised. There is no role for an objector to an application to respond to letters of support. The second.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Was that or was there a further question?
Yeah, so I will do the same again. I'll read the question and answer as I go through.
Thank you.
These will be provided to you as well in their entirety. Right, thank you. In the Buloke, this is a question from Lee. In the Buloke notice of an application for a planning permit, it explicitly states all letters that the council receives in relation to this application will become part of the application file and public documents which anyone may ask to view. During our mediation, when I asked to see the letters and signatures that Tim and Sam presented, my request was denied. Furthermore, my husband was also denied access when he requested to review these documents in his email sent to staff on May 11, 2023. Considering these signatures were mentioned in the report, could you please provide clarity on why our request to access these public documents was refused? The answer, although the introductory letter did use the term letters, the notice of an application for a planning permit included with the introductory letter states that the responsible authority must make a copy of every objection available at its office for any person to inspect during office hours. The Planning and Environment Act 1987, that's section 57(5), says the responsible authority must make a copy of every objection available in accordance with the public availability requirements. The request to view these submissions was denied as the letters were not objections and are therefore not public documents. A further question, and the final one as part of this, Mayor. Under section 60 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, the responsible authority is required to take into account any significant social and economic effects that may result from the proposed use or development. Keeping this provision in mind, my husband presented evidence suggesting that Tim and Sam intend to apply for an alcohol licence as well. Given the potential social and economic implications of such a licence, it raises concerns as to why this detail was not mentioned in your report. Could you kindly provide an explanation as to why the prospect of an alcohol licence was omitted from your assessment? And the answer there is no planning permissions for a liquor licence have been applied for in this application. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon, and we'll deal with that shortly. So back to the agenda. So 7.6. Status of action of past council resolutions, the office of the CEO.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, in the papers, councillors will see a summary of the actions that we have undertaken after council resolutions from previous meetings. There's a recommendation before councillors to note the status of the action report for council resolutions documented on the list. Mayor, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. O'Toole. Councillors, council before us a recommendation to note the actions on the report for council resolutions documented on this list. Could I have a mover for a seconder for those, please? Councillor Simpson and a seconder. Councillor Mill, any discussion on those at all?
Just good to see that we're working through all of our due diligence and that we have several items which have been completed.
Thank you, Councillor Simpson. Anything further? That's been moved and seconded, and nobody was against. I'll take that as carried. Thank you. Item 8.1, policy, business and management reports, and what's the item one?
It's the 8.2.1,
Oh,
Mayor.
sorry.
It's the planning matter.
Okay. 8.2.1, planning application PA 23012 for a change of use to extend business hours at 6 Main Street, Kalgoa. Now, I do have 3 speakers listed for that, and Marie, are you in the gallery there? I can't quite see you, but I think that's you in white. Yes, I can see. Marie, please come forward, and you have 3 minutes to speak, please.
I'm sorry, my name is Mari.
Mari, I know that. I should have remembered. Sorry about that.
That's fine. Thank you for the opportunity to have my say. My name is Mari Witt, resident of Kalgoa, and I have lived in the Mallee since owning a business in Berrywillick from 1991 to 2003. I would like to give credit to the successful and creative business that Sam and Tim have achieved since taking over the Kalgoa Community Store. I wish it known that I have no objection to Sam and Tim having earlier opening hours. My issue is the request to extend hours into the evenings. I chose not to send an objection letter at the time of the submission, but I did go and speak directly to Sam to ask what they were wanting to do and discuss my concerns. At the time, I was disappointed with Sam's response that, well, everyone else will have to pull up their socks, won't they? Which isn't a direct quote, sort of what I remember. This was in response to me voicing my objection to the late night option, which in my opinion would impact on already existing businesses. In my opinion, this attitude shows poor business etiquette, and my concern is not just the effect on Kalgoa with the Panera Hotel. but also for Berwick, Sea Lake and Witchy Group that offer evening hours already. As I said in my introduction, I was an owner and operator of Berwick Cafe for 11 years, where we ran a business in conjunction to a bakery, Allen Mills General Store, 2 garages, a post office and the Berwick Hotel, as well as the outer townships of Sea Lake, Ultima, Lalbert, Nullarbor and Witchy Group. There was a discussion at the commencement of business with other businesses in town directly relating to working together. Please, just for a minute, think about what's left in those townships. Unfortunately, in the 11 years, we did have the experience of another business not working in together, and this led to the ultimate loss of a bakery in the township of Berwick, which was extremely upsetting and unfortunate. We can discuss that later if you want. I ask that you consider the lease for the Culgoa Community Store, which is run under the name of the Melly Bunker Cafe and Pantry, is optioned at 2 by 2 by 2 years. Thus, Sam and Tim can leave after 2, 4 or 6 years. And I am concerned that if they are granted the extended hours and leave during or after the lease terms, what will have become of other businesses in Culgoa and surrounding townships after their businesses have been undermined. Rural business comes with a different operational criteria and cannot sustain an attitude of get in, get what you want, and then get out at everyone else's expense. We need to consider all others around us. Let me finish my request by asking you all to consider the question, what will be left in 2, 4 or 6 years if allowing Sam and Tim to extend into the evening hours affects other businesses? What will we have left? Thank you.
Thank you.
Councillors to ask questions.
Councillors, do you have any questions?
No, Mayor, thank you.
No, thank you. Marty, please come forward, and you also shall have 3 minutes.
I was told 3 to 5 minutes. I've made it 4.5 minutes. Can you give me
That will do. All right, away you go.
Thank you. Okay. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here to discuss the potential impact of extended trading hours for the Melly Bunker Cafe in Culgoa. It's important to highlight that the Melly Bunker Cafe is right next door to the Kinnear Hotel. That the application for extended trading hours is not simply about operational hours, but it also serves as a strategic stepping stone for Tim and Sam to obtain their alcohol license. This intention was explicitly acknowledged by Tim and Sam in our email correspondence on February 27, 2023. Their intention to obtain an alcohol license in the future raises further concerns about the true motives behind their request for extended trading hours. While they assure us that their focus is on providing a wider range of grocery items, quality fast food and pantry options, it is essential to recognise that what they are not telling us is their long-term plans, including serving alcohol. This aspect adds another whole layer of complexity to their application and calls for careful evaluation of the potential impact of the community and existing businesses. It's also the reason why I'm questioning the signatures that Tim and Sam have collected and wonder if all those people who signed the petition know their true motives. In a large community, extended trading hours may force a healthy petition and contribute to the growth of the economy. However, Culgoa, with a population of just 86, is a unique situation that requires thinking carefully about the implications of such a decision. When 15 objection letters were submitted against the Melly Bunker Cafe extended hours, it became clear that the concerns of the community needed to be addressed. It is also important to note that the timing of the planning permit coincided with the post-harvest holiday season, and as a result, many may have excluded some courses from this vital conversation. I must highlight that the only reason why Culgoa has been successful, where other neighbouring towns have failed, is because the Kinnear Hotel and accommodation has a free camping and has invested thousands of dollars in renovations and online platforms and advertising and created a reason for travellers and contractors and caravanners to stay overnight. It is the very fact that all our customers are staying overnight that is the sole reason why Culgoa has been profitable. It is the only reason why all other neighbouring towns have failed. Without the presence of a hotel and a free camping in Colgoa, the town would face the same fate as its neighbouring communities, leading to the eventual closure of all its local stores. It is for this reason alone that it would not be in Colgoa's interest to grant the Mellibunk Cafe its extended trading hours. It is also why we received numerous objection letters opposing the extension of trading hours. If the Mellibunk Cafe was granted their extended trading hours, then all it would do is that the Kinneera Hotel would extend its own trading hours that it already has. Despite the Kinneera Hotel having the approval to trade from 7 a.m. in the morning to 11 p.m. at night, the Kinneera Hotel still to this day has voluntarily limited its trading hours to avoid direct competition with the grocery store, recognising its value and importance to the community. And it is the very reason why the community store gets a lot of trade during the afternoon, as admitted by Tim and said in their objection correspondence letter, quote, "We frequently have customers that say they would want to an hotel if they've been open for lunch." For over 20 years, the Kinneera Hotel and community store maintain a harmonious relationship through mutual respect and cooperation, and it's proved that both businesses can exist together because they are not competing against each other. Unfortunately, Tim and Sam have failed to realise that they themselves need the Kinneera Hotel for their own survival. Rather than pushing for a business model that would result in direct competition, it would be wise for the Mellibunk Cafe to revert to a proven approach as a grocery store, takeaway outlet and post office. This strategy has proven successful for over 2 decades and has served the community well, as both businesses would not be competing against each other. The reality is, in a small town like Colgoa, there isn't enough business to sustain direct competition between two establishments. If the Kinneera Hotel fails, it would create a domino effect, ultimately leading to the closure of both businesses and a devastating effect on our community. To ensure a prosperous future for Colgoa, we must encourage the Mellibunk Cafe to reevaluate its strategy and work in harmony with the Kinneera Hotel. It is important for businesses in a small community to work together to complement each other's offerings and attract more visitors, but it should not come at the expense of an established success. Rather than attempting to imitate the Kinneera Hotel and pursue a licensed cafe model, it would be more beneficial for the Mellibunk Cafe to focus on its core values as a grocery store, takeaway and post office. Thank you for your time and attention to this critical matter.
Thank you, Marty. Councillors, any questions for Marty? No. Thanks, Marty. Then the third speaker, Sam, I believe you're there somewhere. Sam, I'll extend the same courtesy to you and for 4.5 minutes as well.
I will not need that. Thank you, Alan. Thank you for this opportunity to address council on a matter that to us is purely common sense. Believe it or not, and ironically, it was because of the hotel proprietors that we decided to make this application legally, instead of trading under the radar and stirring up the hornet's nest. However, the hornet by its very nature, it seems, was always going to be troublesome and hazardous. This is mine and Tim's first endeavour with small business, and particularly hospitality. Prior to this, we were farmers, and so we expect to work hard to achieve our dream within a certain time frame and realise that nothing comes for free, nor does opportunity wait for anyone. We hope that you realise that we are not only seeking to impress anyone that we serve with reliability, presentation, homestyle cooking and professionalism. It is our genuine wish to service, encourage, as well. Tonight, our representation at Council's meeting is about ensuring that you know what our priorities are and what we hope to achieve. In saying that, I would like to highlight this is not about how this application will affect Colgoa on its own, nor is it about taking business away from anyone else. Rather, how the Mellibunk Cafe and Pantry can help Colgoa and its surrounding neighbours, for example, Berribuli, Nullarbor and Velvet, who have all lost their shops and cafes, the souls of their towns. Secondly, Colgoa is a small and rapidly ageing population, and we hope it will be recognised that our business efforts be an integral injection of building economic growth and development by attracting more visitors to our town, and to share the benefits that this will also bring with all businesses who would like to come along the ride. We are very proud to also add that we have recently hired our third employee, a Berwick resident. Thirdly, according to the anti-competition laws outlined by ASIC, it is our observation that all objection letters are by ASIC's interpretation invalid. In stark contrast, I would like to highlight the 90-odd letters of support from far and wide provided to council at the mediation committee. Our social media impact has been significant, very supportive and empowering, proving that recommendation and word of mouth is our best reward. In conclusion, Tim and I hope you will unanimously approve this application so that Colgoa does not continue its current slow death due to inaction and constant roadblocks. As professionals, we all know that competition serves to encourage improvement and benefits the consumer. That being said, we encourage competition and hope to foster an exciting and thriving community. Thank you.
Thank you, Sam. Councillors, any questions for Sam? No, thank you, Sam.
Thank you.
This is from the Community Development Department. So, Mr. Fitzgibbon, would you like to proceed, please?
Thank you, Mayor. Again, through you, councillors, a planning permit application has been received by council on the 1st of February 2023 for an extension of existing trading hours for a food and drinks premises in township zone. A food and drink premises in township zone is a section 2 permit required land use. The application is to extend the hours of operation to allow trading from 6 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday to Thursday and from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m. Friday, Saturday and Sunday. The business is a long-established use and is operating under existing use rights. No planning permit exists. A use in section 2 of a zone for which an existing use right is established may continue provided any restriction to the use continues to be met. This includes any implied restriction on the extent of activities within the use. As the proposal is to extend the operating hours outside the existing extent of the use, a requirement for a planning permit is triggered. Council received 15 objections. The key issues were raised in the objections are that the town is unable to sustain 2 food and drink premises due to the small township population. Council has also received in excess of 70 signed submissions of support from within the township, surrounding townships, districts, and through travellers. Councillors, you have a very thorough report in front of you to make your decision on the recommendation. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Councillors, we have a recommendation that Council, having cause notice of planning application number PA 23012 to be given under the section 52 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, and having considered all the matters required under section 60 of the Planning and Environment Act 1987, decides to grant a notice of decision to grant a permit under the provisions of 32.05-2 of the Buloke Planning Scheme in respect to the land known and described as 6 Main Street, Colgoa, Lot 1, Title Plan 751938 for the extension of trading hours in accordance with the endorsed plans and the application dated 1st of February 2023 and subject to the conditions listed below. Councillors, can I get a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Warren and a seconder. Councillor Hogan. Councillors, discussion. Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. Can I please have confirmation on the liquor aspect of the discussions and deliberations that have gone on? So in this application, there is no application for liquor that I can see, and it's been explained that there is none. That would indicated that this might be an issue in the future. In planning, are we bound by anything that's alleged to be coming to us, or I mean, it's simply just what's in front of us?
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Mr. Fitzgibbon, would you like to handle that one or defer it to Mr. Hotker?
No, my understanding is that council's need to make a decision on the information provided within the report and facts at the time. Rodney, can you give me a nod? Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. Councillors, other questions? Councillor Warren, I think you had your hand up there.
Thanks, Mayor. Just a point of clarification. This relates to the fact that this is in a township zone, am I correct? Now, if this was in any of our larger commercial towns, would we be seeing this application before us in, say, a commercial retail area?
Mr. Fitzgibbon, do you want to handle that one or again defer to Mr. Hotker?
I might have to refer to Rodney. No, I'm apologies, Rodney, who's sitting on the back space.
Rodney, could you come forward, please, because I can't hear what the answer. I'm sorry.
Just there.
It's because the business is in residential zone, which is the township zone, that this permit's triggered. Because in a commercial zone where retail use as of right use, then notice would not be used.
Thanks. I just needed that distinction. So, yeah.
That's right.
Thank you.
That response.
Thank you. Any other councillors with any questions?
Councillor Simpson here.
Councillor Simpson?
Through the mayor, I believe that we need to grant or refuse this permit on the hours which are presented, 6 AM to 6 PM Monday to Thursday, and 7 AM to 10 PM Friday to Sunday. Is it possible that that perhaps the hours could be modified? I would be much more comfortable if a takeaway food business was operating to perhaps 8 PM. But I don't know how that affects the granting or not of the permit with the hours which we have.
I'll refer that again to you, to Mr. Fitzgibbon and maybe to Mr. Hotker.
My understanding is that would require an amendment motion or not a motion.
I do want to understand what the applicant how they might respond to that as well.
Could we, Sam, how would you respond to what you've heard from Councillor Simpson, please? And I need you to come forward because I'm sorry, it's hearing is not all that great here in Canberra.
Order, Mayor. I think you're out of order here. As a point of order.
Point of order.
Yes, Mr. Yes, Councillor Warren.
So, with due respect, I think either we have a motion from a councillor to vary the permit application. I don't think we have the opportunity again to hear from the applicant. We've heard from the applicant, we've heard from the objectors. If Councillor Simpson, as I understand it, wants to amend or move a motion to amend this motion, that's her call.
Let's get from Michelle, from Ms. Stedman.
Ms. Stedman, can I get some advice from you, please?
Mayor, Councillor Warren is correct. Councillor Simpson would need to move an amendment to the motion that is put to council at the moment. So you would require a mover and a seconder for the amendment to the motion, being that the hours of the permit that is being considered by council are then considered to be apologies, heading the agenda. 6 AM to 6 PM Monday to Thursday, 7 AM to 8 PM Friday to Sunday.
Councillor Simpson, that she's proposing that.
Councillor Simpson, are you proposing an amendment?
Yes, I am, Mayor.
Does she have a seconder?
Do we have a seconder for Councillor Simpson's amendment?
It lapses.
We do not, so that amendment will lapse. So we'll go back to the original recommendation and motion that we had. And any further speakers before we put that to the vote? Councillor Mill.
Thank you, and through you, Mr. Mayor. Living in a small town as I do in Watcham, where we also have a pub and a store. And while the pub is not functioning at the moment to provide meals due to their kitchen fire some time ago, the cafe and the pub in the past have all been able to work quite closely. I believe the Watcham population is probably very similar to the Colgoa population at the last count. In fact, Colgoa may eclipse Watcham by 1 or 2. And I guess from a small town perspective, there's the for and against both businesses operating and providing a similar service, being that food and drink. And I guess from my experience, the opportunity for people to have choice has been what has driven both those businesses to be able to survive. And while probably one has dropped the ball now, and we use Watcham as an example, but one has dropped the ball now and is not providing, the amount of traffic has not doubled at the cafe, simply because there are 2 different services being provided, and I guess my indication is that that 2 businesses should be able to survive in a small town with cooperation and working together, and I guess that would be my wish in Colgoa, that there's
just speak, choose second.
And that element of working together to be able to provide service to both the locals and the travelling public. So I'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Councillor Hogan, as the seconder, would you like to make a comment?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's our council policy to encourage economic development and activity within the Shire. Really, there's no objections that we could raise on the basis of planning issues. So I really can't see that there's an argument to not pass this permit. And I think that Colgoa is very lucky to have 2 very valuable and businesses within the town. And I think that a lot of the time, I imagine the later hours with the bunker would be seasonal, and I think often that there's going to be a difference of the type of people that will frequent both of those businesses. So I think that it should really work well in Colgoa to have both going, 2 very valuable and vibrant businesses. So, and I think there's no reason why they can't operate well together. So yes, I can't see any basis for not passing this.
Thank you, Councillor Hogan. Councillor Warren, right of reply.
No, I think it's been well covered, Mayor. We are dealing with a straightforward planning application that would appear from the officer's recommendation ticks all the boxes, sir.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Councillor's been moved and seconded. We've heard the discussions. I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? Gets carried. Thank you. 8.22 Climate Change Mitigation and Adaptation Strategy Progress Report. Mr. Fitzgibbon, you're up again. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm happy you're enjoying my voice up there in Canberra. You've heard a lot of it tonight. For you, councillors, this report provides the opportunity for council to be given an update on progress against the climate change mitigation and adaptation strategy. Adopted the 10-year climate change mitigation and adaptation strategy and plan in October 2021. The plan outlines 50 actions categorised in 13 goals for climate action. This is the first progress report against those actions. Some of the achievements against the plan include commitment to reach net zero emissions by 2050, successful staging and support of the MASH program, building projects with
Yeah.
about to be implemented. Partnership with Yarra Ambiac Shire Council to deliver a glass punching program. Implementation of quick action sustainability grants as part of the council's community grants program. Donald and Tana Gullah microgrid feasibility study and successful grant application for the updating of council's on-site domestic wastewater management reporting system. Whilst implementation of such an ambitious plan will take time to progress, and progress can be incremental, we have made some good progress against the majority of the actions. Tonight, we bring you an update report on the climate change mitigation adaptation strategy.
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. Councillors, we have a recommendation, if I can find it, that council note the progress made against the climate change mitigation and adaptation strategy and plan. Would I have a mover and a seconder for that, please? Councillor Pollard and a seconder. Councillor Hogan. Any discussion? Councillor Mill.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, a large document with a lot of reporting going on here. There's a long way to go to see this to its fruition. I guess from my observation, we are a long way into the workings of this document. And while I'm still not sold on all of the things to do with some of this stuff, I realise that we need to work towards it, and the things that will fall out of it will fall out of it and become obsolete. But everything else that needs to be done will be done, and I guess there's a great opportunity for Buloke here to realise some outcomes under this document, and I think that the long-term benefit will be better for Buloke and all concerned, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Councillors, anything further? Councillor Hogan.
This was, as Councillor Norman said, quite a lengthy report. There seemed to be quite a lot of reporting within this report, and I failed to see a lot of practical applications on the ground. I would like to think that a lot of our staff would be looking at granting opportunities and basically practical outcomes to really make a bit of a mark in the outcomes from this report, which, as Councillor Mills said, has been seems to be from 2021. So I think it's been around for quite some time. So I'd like to see. Sorry,
COVID had a lot to show.
yeah, I mean that's true, but you know the climate impacts aren't really interested in COVID. But anyway, I would like to see some more practical outcomes on the ground quicker rather than later. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hogan. Any further comment?
Can I just, I suppose, to somewhat echo Councillor Hogan's concerns, but I think in taking that, one of the issues that was pointed out at the time, I think Councillor Pollard was a vocal person on this area, is the cost of implementing these actions to hit these targets. And I mean, if we look at, say, just simple things like looking at, say, the council commuter fleet or cars and those sorts of things, looking at maybe perhaps making them to a hybrid or an electric sort of, they come at cost, Councillor, and I think, you know, we struggle there. I mean, we don't even have the infrastructure to service that type of thing across the Shire. So these are all slow incremental steps. Maybe we could look with the opportunity of the EMO 500 kV power line going in, and we might be able to actually save a bit of money and meet some of our target emission by looking into that down the track. But there could be an opportunity there to quicken up the pace of hitting these targets. But given our restraints in terms of finances, I mean, I get asked the question of staff, how much are we spending to address this document this year in our budget? How much have we set aside?
Thank you, Councillor Warren, through the Mayor. At the same time, I understood to give you an exact answer across the facets of the organisation. But the progression of this plan will largely be sourcing other funds to the investment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Any further comment? Councillor Milne, did you just go to raise your hand again?
I did, Mr. Mayor. The question I was going to ask, and I guess I probably answered my own question in the thinking that I was going to ask about an actual sit-down review of this document, and just whether that's actually scheduled into the document itself, which I can't remember. So just after clarification as to whether there's a set review over the life of this document to see whether anything needs to be changed or updated.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Nothing further, councillors? Councillors, then I'll put that to the vote. All those in favour of accepting this report?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor, maybe an answer to my question. Is there a review?
Oh, sorry, I didn't hear that one. Sorry. Councillor, Travis, Mr. Fitzgibbon, do you have a go?
Thank you, Mayor.
Any
There's a time trigger for such a review, but having compiled this report across our management sector, it's flagged that we do need to sit down and have a workshop with councillors because there are some of those actions that are not relevant or cost effective for the Buloke Shire. So that is certainly,
Thank you, Mr. Fitzgibbon. That's was basically the purpose of the question, because in my initial rant, I guess I said that there'll be some things fall out of it and some things that have to be amended, and that was what I was getting at. Thank you.
Thank you. I apologise for that. All right, councillors, put that to the vote. All those in favour? Against? That's carried. Thank you. 8.23, summary of public budget submissions. Miss Stedman.
Thank you, Mayor, and through you, after Council endorsed releasing the budget for consultation at its May Council meeting, the draft budget was released to the public and submissions to the draft budget were invited from the community. As part of this public consultation, Council received 5 submissions that were collected, and these have been detailed in tonight's report for Council to hear from those that wish to speak to their submission and to formally receive the 5 submissions in total for Council's consideration ahead of their formal consideration of the annual budget at its special meeting on Tuesday, the 27th of June, 2023. Councillors, tonight we will have two submitters speaking to their submissions, David Bell and the Birchip Early Learning Centre PAG, which will both have 10 minutes each to speak to councillors on their submission, and each have 5 minutes for questions from councillors. The speakers tonight do not have to use the full time available to them, but if they do, they will hear a bell with 2 minutes remaining in their time and a double bell at the conclusion of their speaking time. Mayor, I will pass to yourself and councillors for the consideration of the public budget submissions to the draft annual budget.
Thank you, Ms. Stedman. Councillors, it is now my intention to suspend standing orders to have these submissions presented. So I'm looking for somebody to move the suspension of standing orders, please. Councillor Milne and a seconder. Councillor Warren, all those in favour? Against? Carried. So the first speaker is David Bell. If you would like to come up, please, David. And as Ms. Stedman has pointed out, David, you can have a maximum of 10 minutes to make your presentation.
My name is David Bell. I'm from Birchip. I've lived in Birchip for 18 years, so I'm very familiar with the town, and indeed I love the town. I'm here by invitation tonight because of my prior submission and correspondence in which I am petitioning the council to provide electric vehicle charging stations in Birchip. And by extension, I understand that it might also be considered for Donald. I come to my information to support this. In 2021, 5,149 electric vehicles were sold in Australia. In 2022, 33,410 electric vehicles were sold. That's an increase of 549%. Clearly, there's an exponential growth of electric vehicles on Australian roads. 2035 is a date nominated by the ACT and South Australia for banning the sale of petrol and diesel. But the trend already shows that there is a growing preference for electric vehicles on the roads of Australia. Now, we know that there are charging stations along the Calder Highway. You will find them at Wycheproof, back at up at Sea Lake and back at Wedderburn. But surprisingly, there are none along the Sunraysia Highway. By the time you leave Ballarat, you won't find one until you get, well, at least to Woomalang, and I don't think there's any there. And so I think this is a problem, and it's a problem which Buloke Shire can address by putting electric vehicle charging stations in Donald and in Birchip. I've done a lot of research on how much these cost, and I am advised, in fact, by the person who's responsible for some of the stations in Bendigo, that a 50 kilowatt DC charge point would cost about $65,000. Not sure, but there may be some electrical costs added to that. 50 kilowatt DC is the minimum that we should have in our towns. Now, I come to the picture that has been circulated, and all of the councillors have got a copy of it. This is a picture of a very small charging point on the wall of the Science and Discovery Centre in Bendigo, which is just opposite the railway station. When I saw that, I became immediately intrigued. What is it? What's it there for? And what's the story? Now, at the top of that picture, you'll see the name of ChargePox. So I decided to find out who ChargePox is. And they claim to be the biggest provider of electric vehicle charging stations in Australia. But of interest to me, and perhaps to you as a council, is what you find when you go to the ChargePox website, because there you find a special section devoted to supporting local government. And so I quote from their website: "Our friendly team will be with you every step of the way, from selecting charging sites and chargers to setting pricing and monitoring usage." One example they quote is from the city of Knox. The Knox City Council installed 2 twin charging points, 2 stations with 4 charging pipes, if you like, in total. One of these stations is available for public charging, and the other one is for council use exclusively to charge up their electric vehicle fleet. And I don't know whether there's any plans for an electric vehicle fleet for Buloke, but I strongly recommend you do, because in the long run, you'll save a lot of money on petrol and diesel. Now, it seems I still have a little bit of time left, so I would like to refer a little bit more to the picture, because at the bottom of the picture, you'll see a reference to the Bendigo Technical College. And I wondered what that was all about. Well, it turns out that at Bendigo Technical College, there is a project for girls restoring an old Range Rover, bringing it up to almost perfect condition and converting it to an electric vehicle. A number of girls have graduated from that program and have gone on to jobs in engineering and science. When that Range Rover is completed by August, it will be donated to the Discovery Centre, and it will be available for public rental. But the thing that fascinated me is that anyone can roll up to that charge point in your picture and use it. The electricity comes from the roof of the Discovery Centre. The Discovery Centre owns the charge point, they supply the electricity and they make money from it. And so this could be replicated in Buloke schools, I believe. It's a fantastic model that we should encourage here in Buloke. The director of the program in Bendigo is a fellow called Graham Witter, and he has offered to address the council on the ramifications of this proposal. I've got time left, but I won't take up much more time. I simply would remind council, as per my letters, that electric vehicles using the Sunraysia Highway can only be good for tourism and business, because when you stop to charge your car, it can take 30 to 40 minutes. While the person is waiting for that to charge, they can nick across to the shopping centre and spend $40 to $50. As I pointed out, there's an exponential growth of electric vehicles on the road, and we would expect to see many more of them in our two towns. Thank you for your attention.
Thank you, David. Councillors, questions for David? You must have covered it very well, David. Thank you. The councillors aren't raising their hands there, so I thank you for your submission this evening.
Sorry, I've just got one question. Sorry.
Oh,
David.
sorry, I didn't see your hand there, Councillor Hayden.
Has ChargeFox, have they worked with other councils, other rural councils?
To be honest, you'd have to go to their website. I don't remember all the ones. I think they're working with about 6 different councils.
Right.
Knox is the only one I studied in detail.
Yeah. Because I've done some reading, they're doing main through the utes now. They're looking at electrifying those. So I imagine once they start doing heavy duty utes, that will become quite a big, I imagine uptake in our regional areas, and we definitely need charging stations, I would say.
Yeah.
So,
And if,
I'm wondering about the amount of, say, just with this company, like the what is the cost for a charge?
for a charge or a charger?
To charge a vehicle. So what you talked about being a money-making enterprise, or
Well,
Shire?
I have driven an electric vehicle, and typically it costs 60 cents a kilowatt hour. I drove an electric vehicle for a whole weekend down in Melbourne, and when I had to recharge it, it cost me $5. You know, you compare that to the cost of petrol and diesel, there's no contest. The other thing is, if we own the chargers, which we can do, we own we get some of the revenue, I would imagine, from the electricity, particularly if we generate it ourselves off our own roofs. And the only money that ChargeFox makes out of the Bendigo situation, because the Discovery Centre owns the unit and because they provide the electricity, all that ChargeFox charges is $350 a year for the software to run it.
I think it's interesting that that comes just after the discussion about the climate change mitigation adaptation strategy. This is a very practical way of putting a strategy on the grounds.
Thank you. Councillors, any further questions?
Just an observation, perhaps you could take this on board. You realise that the Buloke Shire has nearly 6,000 kilometres of road. Now, to get enough money to fix those and maintain those roads for our ratepayers, we rely on money from the petrol excise and diesel excise. If we are all running around electric vehicles and generating all our power from the sun or the wind or any other particular thing, where do we get the money from to fix the roads?
Well, I understand your concern, but the major manufacturers of cars have already projected that they are phasing out the manufacture of petrol and diesel. As I pointed out, the ACT in South Australia will not allow them to be sold by 2035.
That doesn't answer the question.
Well,
Where are we going to get the money from to maintain our road network to a standard that is going to allow us to run the Shire? This is the nub of the problem. At this stage, everyone's talking about electric vehicles and all this. It's all free energy. However, there's just one flaw in the argument.
does the Shire get petrol excise?
Well, that's the money that we get to maintain the roads. So we get money each year from the state federal government. Now that's money, and as you're probably aware, there are excises on fuel, etc.
Are you aware that
money
there's all
comes back to the road maintenance? So this is one of the conundrums that we have to address. It's great, fantastic. I support you 100%, but we need to be practical how we actually achieve that. I'm not saying we don't do it, because we have to address, but it's one of the questions that no one is prepared to answer. I mean,
if you allow, I'll answer it. As I understand it, there's already an excise in Victoria on electric vehicles per kilometre. However, that excise is currently being challenged in the High Court as to whether Victoria is allowed to impose such a tax. Depending on the outcome of the High Court case, will determine whether the electric vehicle excise will continue or not. But you would probably hope that it will continue, because that is money flowing from the use of electric vehicles.
If I could just clarify that, it's called a road user charge, and they're in Victoria, I think at the ACT, that's one as well.
Okay.
And call them different things. So I think they're trying to clarify the nature of the charge, but it's definitely a road user charge, because that will hopefully cover some of the future road costs without the excise system.
need to be very.
Any further questions for David while we have him sitting there? Now, thank you for your presentation tonight, David, and we will note that.
Thank you.
Our second speaker tonight is the Birchip Early Learning Group PAG, and my notes say I have Deanne Ferrier in the room.
Two ferries.
If I might, we'll share the screen. There's a slide show presentation as part of the submission. Dee, and we'll, it won't be a slideshow so much, we'll just the tiles. Because the councillors need to be able to set in CO and the times for them. So hopefully
That's right, we brought that.
So I'll just do that now.
Thank you. And I will offer you the same, 10 minutes, and then some questions from the councillors. Thank you.
Okay, well, thank you, Mr. Mayor and councillors and staff for giving us this opportunity to present to you today. So, yeah, I'm Deanne Ferrier, the president of the Birchip Early Learning Centre Parents Advisory Group, and this is Louisa, who has come on board as our secretary this year, doing a marvellous job. So I guess why we're here today is we would like to request for council to consider a late budget submission of approximately $15,000 for a feasibility study to be conducted for improvements to the existing Birchip Early Learning Centre, and to investigate the feasibility of increasing the services at this facility. And we have, I think, in background documentation provided a room to grow document where we've got a lot of ideas listed on future opportunities that we think could be looked into. In regard to the $15,000, earlier this year we obtained 3 quotes looking into this work, and so I guess there's a little bit of background there as to where the $15,000 came from. Next slide, I guess where we were. We think we've got a really great story to share, to tell, and I think it's one that the Buloke Shire can sell. In possible funding opportunities in the future. Back in 2016, there was a lot of hard work done, and long daycare got up for 1 day per week. Sandy Richmond, who many of you would have heard of, did a plethora of work to recruit families to enrol in that. And it grew from 1 day to 2 days over the course of a year. And then moving along to 2019, our kinder was relocated, as you all are very aware, to the school precinct. And we were really fortunate there to have the 3 and 4-year-old integrated kinder pilot project get up, which I think, Lou, it may have been one of the first in the state for that to actually happen. So again, what a fabulous story to tell. And then moving along to 2022, a lot changed for staff and for people to get their heads around, but long daycare grew to 4 days per week, which was amazing for the town, for the economic advantages that were gained, and also for those who are a little more vulnerable. And so kinder grew to 4 days being offered, 4 short days, and after kinder care was also brought in to allow those working families to have a full day of work. And I guess prior to that year, long daycare had run separately to kinder. So suddenly our little facility was being run almost at maximum capacity, except for on the Friday. So I think that's just a wonderful story for a small town of only 700 people that we can really sell and sell it well. I guess this slide too comes from our strategic plan that we've developed or have updated recently, and that was on the back of a visit to the Early Learning Centre from Anthony Judd, Rose Harris and Barry McKenzie back in 2019, perhaps 2020. Where they suggested, put together a strategic plan so we can try and work forward to move ahead. So I guess there's been a lot of thinking, a lot of consultation that's been happening within the community and with our group. Here, next slide, we have a couple of really pertinent quotes. One from Andrew Sale, Birchip P12 School Principal, and the other from Fiona Best. And I won't read them, but I'll just say that, it highlights how important it is to have the opportunity to have childcare, to keep these talented professionals working in our little town. Where are we at now? Next slide. So we're running, as we said, kinder, long daycare, maternal and child health and immunisations, all out of the Birchip Early Learning Centre. So there's a lot happening through that front gate, and the little kids get to watch it all pass before their eyes. The kindergarten has visiting specialists, including the Royal Flying Doctor Service, speech therapists, the dentist, and occupational therapists. And that's been growing, and it's been great that we've been able to access those services, and some of those have filtered onto the school as well. So there's a lot of tangible benefits that have been growing. At the moment, we're in a great position. We've got 26 children in long daycare enrolled and 29 children in the kinder, 3 and 4-year-old combined. And in addition to the children going through the MCH room for checkups and immunisations. At the moment, for a number of reasons, we've also got Richard and Charlton children too who are attending Birchip on particular days. And I've highlighted the hours for which everything's running as well. So is it fit for purpose? The current building that we have, the Early Learning Centre educators suggest they need more space. They feel frustrated and they just say it would be so good to have a little bit more space for a number of reasons. The MCH nurses suggest the current space doesn't feel fit for purpose. So we've been listening to these people, and so hence the reason for the presentation tonight. We've been discussing all of our ideas with the YMCA, the service provider, who suggests our space currently meets the universal code for the numbers per metre squared, which is fine, but I think it's for the minimum standards. So that's something else that we've been discussing, particularly given that we're a rural centre and that kids are used to space. So it's very different to a metropolitan centre. We've got a high demand for reliable childcare, and as we all know, there are challenges with staffing that continue. There's no easy solution, but I think we can all work together to try and work through this. High staff turnover, so the wellbeing of staff needs to be forefront of our mind. If we can make these staff feel valued and needed, then I think we'll be heading in the right direction. And as here for the last point, up to 1 in 3 children across rural Victoria start school developmentally vulnerable. And that's from the submission to the Productivity Commission, which I'm sure the Shire has been a part of. But too, we've researched Buloke children have vulnerabilities in 2 learning domains higher than the state average at the moment. So school readiness has to be something that we need to keep working on, and we should make it a priority in the Shire.
Want me to go? So just another quote from a Birchip resident, Carolyn McAvoy is a trained teacher. She's a mother of 2. She's getting asked to fill casual relief positions, and she just can't get her children into more childcare. It's just full now. My 2 children, they're on the waiting list too. They're attending 2 days. I'd like to go to 3 days, but it's just being told there's just not the space for them at the moment. So there's a real expansion happening at a very rapid rate. Next slide is about ask these questions that we've got. There's a need for extension of the yard. This is, we believe, is underway, and there has been discussions with Shire representatives and our service provider. We would love a bit more advocacy from the Shire if that's possible to keep that rolling. Staff room for the staff, discrete space for maternal child health consultation, really important. Additional space for visiting specialists and storage. They are bursting at the seams.
And one other thing I'll add to that is that we may also need an extra education room with the pre-prep rollout that's about to occur in 2026.
So the building we're looking at is a multi-purpose space that accommodates the growing needs of our early childhood health and education requirements. We want to build a partnership between council, our healthcare providers, our school, our childcare provider, our universities, our community as an example of best practice. We want to aim to be a rural model for integrated services. That is a place for research into rural health for children and mothers. Dee can talk to that later. We want to raise educational and health outcomes for our Shire. Is it feasible? Enrolment numbers are increasing. Continuing demand for more childcare 0 to 5 years old. There's strong birth numbers in Birchip. We are bucking the trend and potentially that's occurring across the Shire. Our town has more work than workers. Access to childcare is one part of the solution to attracting staff and families to our town. And then some future exciting indicators are Birchip has been identified by the Swan Hill Midwifery Program as a satellite town where weekly clinics could be run. Birchip has recently secured a new nurse or midwife who will be training within the Shire to become a nurse. This nurse will be supported by the Shire through a scholarship program. Jacinta Burke, our centre manager, has been taking a great mentoring role for others and provides information at every opportunity she can and program. And can I say Dee does a lot of that too. Committee member Fiona Best is part of an early childhood education and care working party who recently made a submission to the Productivity Commission. You all have a copy of that. I'm pushing here. Final slide is make it grow. We want to retain our current families and encourage new families to live here. We want to provide our families with the education and care they need to thrive. Living rurally should never be seen as an advantage when it comes to our health and education. And this little early learning centre that provides maternal child health care, immunisation, long day care and kindergarten, which is formal education, just getting kids ready for school, does a great job at that. Really would love you to consider this feasibility study for us to get there. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Very comprehensive. Councillors, questions of the ladies, please. No questions? Councillor Warren?
Just quickly, this is a $15,000 bid you're asking for. What are the other contributions to this study? And who's providing them?
Well, we are we're willing to work with council on that, Councillor Warren. So we've got the questions. We believe a feasibility study is the best way to get the answers.
No. We're being asked for $15,000.
You're asking for co-contribution.
I'm just wanting to know what are the co-contributions or who are the other players that would be contributing to a start? That's all.
Well, this is a council building and we're asking for partial improvements to.
No, Stu, just can I just butt in there? This is a Department of Education building. It is not a council building.
Yeah.
It is a Department of Education building. We lease it.
So, well, council built it and council leases it. So you're quite considerable stakeholders.
No, just a simple question. We're being asked for $15,000. How much is the study worth and who else is contributing? That's all.
So you've received 3 quotes that we've investigated. You have, that was in the information. So that's what we're basing the $15,000 on.
Okay.
So and the one we believe of most value is $7,000. Which has all been provided to you already. And so these extra questions are something that we really would like answered, but we identified a building blocks funding round that was planned, that could have fitted this perfectly. It opened the week before Easter. It closed in early May. We missed that. We raised it with council staff and that opportunity went missing. So we have funds.
We're willing to work with council to try and get some plans and some future thinking put on paper, because we've investigated further funding opportunities, and until you've got this initial concept plan designed and developed, you can't go any further.
It simply goes back to the simple question. $15,000 is going to do the job? Yes or no?
Well,
thank you.
No, we're not qualified to know how much is required to answer these questions.
Well,
So
according to the
our
quotes that we've
research.
received, yes.
But that's not necessarily our job to do all that.
No, you're asking council $15,000. My question is, will that do the job?
I think, in all fairness, Councillor Rowe, I think Louise has answered the question. They're not qualified.
I'm not asking
And you've been provided with quotes. I mean, what are you asking?
concern class.
No, well, they're been provided, and they're saying they're between 15 and 7.
Councillors, I think Councillor Warren's question was answered with a yes, so I believe that is the answer to the question. That was the question asked and answered. Now, any further questions for the ladies?
The building that you're proposing to put to the, I assume the east side of the current building. Yep. So, what are the services that you would provide, and what are the benefits of having that as a separate building?
So
I know you probably explained that, but I just want to sort of get a concept of what's going to be in one building and what's going to be in the other.
Well, I think that's a part of this this initial study that's to be done. We want to try and work out what's feasible, what's viable, and what can be done, what can be paid for, I guess, and what can work in our community in the Buloke Shire. We've got ideas moving forward. We think it can work, but we need it written on paper. Otherwise, we, the PAG, we can fund this type of work ourselves, but unless there's support from all the stakeholders involved, we won't be able to move it forward. But there are ideas that we've got that have been listed in some of the documentation. We can go over them.
No, I suppose, yeah, what I'm just saying is that if the MCH has moved into the new building, will that, say, with the extra funding that's coming in 2026 for more children, will that mean that the current building is fit for purpose then for the larger numbers?
Well, we don't know exactly, because it depends on what our future vision is on how many enrolments we'll have for 3- and 4-year-old integrated kindergarten, and how the program should be rolled out for the best opportunities for those 4-year-olds to be school ready moving forward. Should they be sharing a room with the 3-year-old children that are still, some of them are still not toilet trained? Is that yeah, are there opportunities there that we could split up some of that program so that they can have separate time? And perhaps this growth of the building could help that move forward and help the progress of those, those children.
But fit for purpose, there's not a staff room at the moment. They need more storage. The backyard's not right. There's an airlock. They just enter straight in from the north into, there's no airlock as an entrance. Privacy for maternal child health.
So, and you'd be able to get extra services for, but you would need consulting areas. So I take that's what the new build would be. So that would provide fairly good service to the wider region as well.
Oh, absolutely. OT, dietitian, speech therapists, psychologists.
And some of which come at the moment, but there's nowhere for them to have their consults. So they've got all the children running around while they're having those consults. So, and also with children, there's so many rules and regulations, which is why a person needs to come in, a consultant needs to come in who's qualified to know all those rules and regulations, but staff cannot leave the site. So you need to have that continuity of staffing as well.
So with the lady that's got the scholarship from from Swan Hill, where should come out of?
So there might be staff who can speak to that more than me. If you'd like to.
Yeah, and where is she being? Where's her main hospital? Is obviously. So she would be able to provide antenatal classes.
We don't know the details of that. Midwifery and maternal child health is her training, so I would suggest that is on.
Because we don't have any of those in town.
We do not. No. We can't have our babies in Buloke. No mother in Buloke. They have to travel significant distances to have their babies. So anti and postnatal support would be enormous for supporting the families of Buloke.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Councillor Mill?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you. I guess my question is a general one to us and staff. If we can't find money in the budget, is there other places that we can look for this money within government departments to further this idea?
Sure, yes.
So we can actively pursue other avenues as well as consider this ourselves before the special meeting and see what we come up with. Yes. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions? Yeah. Well, thank you, ladies, for that presentation. Very thorough, and we will consider that at our budget meeting.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Councillors, I need a motion to resume standing orders, please. Councillor Warren and a seconder. Councillor Milne, was that you? Or sorry, Councillor Hogan, I saw a hand there. All those in favour? That is carried. Thank you. Councillors, we have a recommendation that councillors receive and note that public budget submissions made in relation to the Buloke Shire Council draft annual budget as in 23-24 as endorsed for advertisement on the 10th of May. Would somebody care to move that, please? Councillor Warren and Councillor Hogan, I think it was, or was it Councillor Pollard? I saw an arm over there. I'm not sure whose it was.
Either one.
Councillor Pollard, are you looking at me? That'll do. Any discussion on that? All those in favour? Yes, that's carried. Thank you. Financial 8.3 financial reports, of which I don't have any. 8.4 organisational reports, of which I don't have any. 8.5 reports from councillors. Councillor Milne.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you, I'll list a number of things that I've attended and a couple of days on some of them. Matawa Silo opening, I attended as rep from Hunter Valley Tourism Board. I've attended Virgin Forum in recent in the recent month. The Community Forum Summit, which a number of us attended and was quite a good informative evening. Municipal Fire Prevention and Management Committee, Donald P&A Society, annual general meeting. And a couple of these while Councillor Warren was away, so I made sure that I was able to step in. Destination management plan for Wimmera Valley Tourism Board, which is becoming a very important document to have ready for when we might transfer to the new visitor economy partnerships that are being put forward at the moment. Grampians tourism presentation to that board have been, there's been a number of those in the last couple of weeks, and they're becoming, as I said, more important as we move forward. We've had Wimmera Valley Tourism Board meetings, attended the CERT meeting in Birchip the other night for recruitment, and probably went there more as a potential volunteer in some way, shape or form, but it was an interesting night. Small towns, big difference. A very interesting day in Charlton, and a lot learned out of what small towns can do. And we had watching progress last night with and thanks to Councillor Warren who came with his insurance knowledge hat on. We had a focus on insurance for updating community insurance, and I'll leave it at that, Mr. Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Milne. Councillor Simpson.
So together with other councillors, I attended Small Towns Big Differences. We really need to take a deep breath and realise what we can achieve. I also attended the Friends of Mount Witchy meeting and the North Central Len AGM. The notable guest speakers were young farmers who had attended university either in a farming capacity or in a human resources capacity, and after working in other areas have returned to the challenges of broadacre farming and fibre production. So I will leave it at that.
Thank you. Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. So I suppose I kicked off with the Community Southern Witchy Group. Just a couple of, I suppose, points. I've been doing my Meals on Wheels round as a volunteer. I can report back to council that there is general concern within the community, and we know this, in regard to the future of the council services. There is a high degree of angst amongst our current Meals on Wheels customers who are fairly nervous about the future of services. So, look, I'll report that, and look, I think we're all aware of it, but I mean, it's good to get it, if you like, at the coal face. We're going to have to do a lot of hand-holding and massaging and a lot of work behind the scenes to ensure that our most vulnerable people in the community are well looked after. And I'll just pass that on for an expertise. Other interesting, I was invited to the AEMO stakeholders meeting here with Witchy Group, and I think Councillor Pollard was there as well. I think very interesting in the current discussion stage. I mean, to put I suppose, a positive slant on it, if there can be a positive slant. I mean, I think we have to accept the fact that this project is going ahead. It's really a matter of what we can get out of it for our community down the track that we need to be mindful of and really work. And also reinforce to most people, there are other ways to skin the rabbit, so to speak. And I think there was very useful discussion, and it was very, I suppose, it wasn't negative, it was quite good, and people did have a good say. Hopefully, this sort of discussion will eventuate in Charlton. I know there'll be a wider workshop in Charlton, but I think it's a matter of look, see it as an opportunity. I mean, it's probably not the opportunity that people are looking for, but if we can make something out of it, and let's face it, I touched on this tonight before, we have a huge road network that needs to be serviced. Now, these people will be coming in and they'll be thrashing those roads pretty hard. So there's got to be a benefit to our community in that area going forward as well. The other one I just want to bring up, as a director of Workspace, I attended the meeting in Bendigo, and Workspace is an organisation that's going ahead to leaps and bounds. It's a huge project in Castlemaine they're undertaking at the old school site at Eddy Street. Probably Wayne's aware of that. But one thing that came out of the meeting, and we should keep this in mind, is they have an overwhelming need for more warehouses or trading warehouses in Gold. They are fielding numerous inquiries from tradespeople in Gold looking for space to set up. Now, we currently, as I understand it, are slowly working through a negotiation stage with $2000 to lease some land in the industrial estate. I think we need to accelerate that because there is a pent-up demand for tradespeople to get access to sites, and that could hold us back in the future. So could I impress on staff if we can look at that? I suppose a green prism, so to speak. So that's my contribution there for that sort of thing, and I've sent my report into council staff. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Warren. Councillor Hogan.
I'll send my full report in, but I just wanted to make note of the Nandaly Biggs morning tea, which I attended on the 18th of May. And I just want to congratulate Jo Brady and her team. They catered for a very large crowd in the hall. And there was entertainment and beautiful food, and it was a very enjoyable morning for a lot of people. So just wanted to note that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Pollard.
I've got nothing more to report, Mr. Mayor. You've heard where I've been for the last month.
Thank you, Councillor Pollard. I'll send my report in too, but just a couple of things. Yesterday with the CEO and Joe Postlethwaite, we received the award for the national award for the paddock run. At the presentation, I actually paddock run the minister. Very well received. I've had a discussion today with the Rockhampton Rural City Council. They absolutely loved our program. We've received some more information. So I mean, we've got to say well done to our flood recovery team. I mean, that's just a feather in their cap. We did some TV with the CEO and Joe. I've done some radio today. We have been very well received here in Canberra. So it's really a bonus for us. Look, we'll show you the trophy and things when we return from Canberra. But we just must thank our flood recovery team for the work that's done, and so very well received up here in Canberra. And the rest will come when I return. Thank you. 9, other business. Notice of motions, I have none. 9.2 is questions from councillors, which I've been informed of one. Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Mayor. Mayor, on the 19th of May last, I was contacted by an investigator seeking my response to allegations made by Councillor Stewart that since 2019 and up until 2023, that I, along with other councillors, have bullied and harassed Councillor Stewart. My understanding is this investigation was undertaken in response to a Fair Work claim made by Councillor Stewart. I'm also led to believe that this claim has now been adjourned indefinitely. My understanding is that councillors are indemnified by the council whilst they are serving as a councillor, and that they have access to council's sources. I would like clarification on this matter. Or should I seek my own legal advice, given that I am subject to an investigation? And if I do seek that advice, will council cover me for obtaining that advice? Question or no? Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you. Ms. Stedman, would you like to reply to that?
I can reply in part, so perhaps Councillor Warren and through the Mayor in regards to coverage for councillors around legal action. So the Act provides that be potentially sued in the context of their role or any decisions made in their role as a councillor. However, legal action of any councillor against any other person or legal action to a councillor on a personal legal matter is not covered by council unless it's deemed to be covered by council through a resolution of council. As for points surrounding the investigation that you've mentioned, under the governance rules of Buloke Shire Council, I'd suggest that the administration cannot answer that question particularly on matters that pertain to an area which we don't have any ability to comment on.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Warren.
Thank you, Ms Stedman, and thank you, Councillor Warren. 9.3 urgent business, of which I haven't been notified of any. 9.4 any other business. 9.5 matters which may exclude the public, nil, which brings us to item 10, meeting closed. Councillors, I thank you for your contribution tonight and your questions, and I thank the public gallery that are still here for your attendance. And we'll close this meeting now, and our next meeting will be witchy proof on